Hey guys, this is video 8 of our Q&A series, and first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to do a couple different things on this one. First, I want to do, so last week in that video on the TKEs, I said the person that submits the question that we're going to use for this video, number one, we're going to obviously answer the question on this video, and he gets a free shirt. So shout out to Brandon Keller for submitting this question that we're going to discuss here just briefly, and he got his free shirt, so that's pretty cool for him. His question was, how do we prevent neck injuries, and what do we do to kind of address that situation? And so I wanted to talk about just kind of briefly about how we do that. We don't see that a whole lot. That's typically important for football players, maybe some rugby players, guys that are tackling or using a lot of things with their shoulder and their head to make contact or hit people a lot, where the head can kind of move side to side and become a little unstable at the neck. And so what I wanted to show you is how the muscles in the upper back and the back of the neck kind of connect to the head, and how they can all work together to stabilize that head in one place, keep it safe. So the main thing that I'm going to address that we're going to talk about is the traps, the trapezius muscle here. You'll see it on this. It's actually a really big muscle group, but it's coming here from the top of the shoulder, kind of right there in the back of the shoulder blade. It's coming all the way down in here. It's this big guy right here. You got the fascia in here in the middle. And these are the main parts of the traps that most people think of. They see how they connect up here into the base of the skull. So they play a big role in not only the movement of the head back and forth this way, like forward and back, as well as some side to side stuff, not as much side to side, but they're also going to be keeping that head from doing a lot of excessive movement that you don't want. So they're really stabilizing it and holding it in one tight place. Deadlifts. Any type of deadlift, whether it's a straight bar in the front, or we really like the hex bar, where you're standing in and you kind of have your hands at the side, that really gives you good. It's not as much what we call isolated shrugging movements, not as much isolated trap development, but it's a better development, and it's more effective for larger muscle gains and for more strength, to really develop the strength going all the way up through the neck, to really hold that head in place. So thanks, Brandon, for that question. And for the second part of this video, we're going to start part 1 of our warm-up series. We'll probably address a small part of it this week, probably spend next week on it as well. And so we're going to go to that now and look at some of the ways that we warm up. All right, I'm going to have George here demonstrate part of his warm-up that he actually does before his workouts each time when he comes in. So the first thing he's going to do here is our hip flexor stretch. Go ahead and get into it. So getting a pretty good stretch. So here we're really working on that left leg, stretching that hip flexor out, and then we add in a little bit of a rotation with it too. So we're going both directions. Getting a little thoracic, part of the middle part of the spine, get a little thoracic mobility in there as well with that hip flexor stretch. We're going to go both ways with that. So rotate to both sides. One side's a little better than the other for most people. So as we're getting that stretch of that hip flexor on the back side, we're also getting a little bit of back mobility going too. Okay, then the second thing he goes into is our glute bridge. So just pretty much laying flat on the back, keeping the feet as close to the butt as what's comfortable. Just really trying to think, engage the glutes, squeeze the glutes tight, and then press those hips up toward the ceiling. Try to get as flat as you can. We get a little bit of a stretch in the hip flexor and that part of the quad there, as well as trying to get the glutes warmed up and going to get them firing the way we want them to. So last week's video, we talked about the TKEs, and this is the IT roll with the foam roll here. We're rolling out that IT band. This is what we do right before we go into our TKEs. I talked a little bit about that last week. We're trying to roll the IT band going from the side of the hip all the way down to the outside of the knee, just making some nice, small, slow rolling movements, trying to work all the way down there, break up some of that tightness, trying to loosen up that fascia a little bit. Get it mobilized in a sense, and then get ready we'll couple it with the TKEs here when he's done. Okay, so now we'll go into the TKEs after the rolling the IT band. Don't really need to talk much about this, just did it last week, but just kind of the same thing we talked about in that video. Okay, then we go with our shoulder rolls with the PVC pipe. And we're trying to really focus on keeping the arms as straight as possible. try to keep the rib cage down a little tight as you're going back. So we don't want to really get overextended here. Try to keep it pretty tight in here so that the shoulders rotate back and forth. Really good to warm up the shoulders, get some blood flow going in there, get to mobilize them a little bit, get them ready for any type of upper body workouts that we're doing. What we go into is a lat stretch, trying to stretch the lats here, which is this big old guy back there. Like this, we're trying to keep that palm up as much as we can. Try to bend, tuck your head in between. Try to really get it up by the ear. There you go. Yeah. So this is a really good lat stretch that we like to do here. Okay, now we come out to our prone Ys and Ts. So here we're laying on flat on the stomach, trying to really keep the chest down, go a little more overhead. Yeah, arms straight. So we're just raising up into our Ys here, really just trying to squeeze the shoulder blades. This one's a little less mobility and a little more trying to work on our posture thing. So we're trying to get those shoulder blades to stay back and retract well. And then we go into the Ts, kind of the same thing. We're trying to retract those shoulder blades, squeeze them together at the spine. We like to go thumbs up on both of these because it gets a little external rotation in that shoulder. We talked on the throwing video, we get a little bit internally rotated typically from just daily use, so we're trying to externally rotate those shoulders whenever we can. And then we finish with some bodyweight squats, so we can use the PVC pipe if we just want to get used to holding a bar. George he was our demonstrator for the squat video, so he's getting another chance here to do them really well for the camera. So it's just working on that hip mobility, working on our feet flat, working on the knees out, working on dropping those hips down in, pushing the hamstrings back toward the back wall. So that's it for episode 8 of our video Q&A series. Thanks again to Brandon for submitting the question. And pretty cool, he got to be the winner of a free shirt. That's always awesome. And thanks again to George for letting me use him to demonstrate some of our warm-up stuff. Next week for episode 9, we're going to do kind of a part 2 on our warm-up. And it's going to be a little more of some of the dynamic things that we do for our athletes, get them moving around a little more, as well as possibly get into some of the mobility things for the dynamic stretching and using lacrosse balls and foam rollers for some different ways to really improve the dynamic mobility of joints, to get them moving a little better, ease away some injury prevention type stuff and some of that thing. So keep sending those questions in. We never know, we might do another cool giveaway here in the future. Tweet us at CompStrength. Look for us on Facebook, Complete Strength Gym. If you don't like us, go and like us right now. And you can comment on this video or send us a message there through Facebook. Email us info@livestrength.com. Any questions you have, and we might get you on next week's episode. Thanks, guys.